Can you hear me now? Okay, perfect. So sorry for that, folks. It reminded me the first time I presented in this very room, probably 20 years back, when we had a presentation run by Student Union, and we were doing Linux 101. And there were two of us, and I was the second speaker, and the first speaker went through all the topics himself, and then I was on the stage, and I was like, what the hell I'm going to talk about? So this is hopefully not going to happen today, but I probably haven't sacrificed properly to demo gods. So let me start asking you a question that is probably somewhere in your mind. Will AI take my job? I believe that all of us had that thought for a while. And if you haven't, you probably will. And it is a very legitimate and rational question to ask. I'm not going to sell you on some utopian fantasy. AI is going to change the job market. AI is going to change job content and job descriptions more than any of us can imagine. But the important thing is that you are somebody who can shape the future. You can influence how that future market would look like. My name is Karel Piwko. As it was already mentioned, I'm a former absolvent of this faculty, and I've been 20 years in the industry, 16 out of that within Red Hat in various individual contributor, management, and leadership role. And last year, I decided to take a career switch, and I started looking into AI, which is a funny twist because intelligent system has been the program that I actually studied here. So what I would like to share today are a few insights on how I'm thinking about AI, and hopefully this will help you to dismiss your fears. So what we will talk about today. First, we will cover the importance of controlling data. AI is about data, and if you don't control the data, you can run into serious problems, and I will talk more about it. The second, I will introduce you to two, let's say, managerial frameworks that you can use to build your own learning path. So how you can leverage AI to learn faster, to learn more, to learn something that would give you more value on the market. Then I would like to debunk a few myths on AI. I would like to critically go through a few things that I consider are really important in how AI is changing software development. And I will follow up with what it means for the role of software development themselves, or software developers themselves. And then I will try to inspire you to do something today. So let's start with the data and the choice and control. Prior I will go into that, I would like to better understand who is in the audience. So if you can please give me some show hands, like who here is a student? Okay, majority. How many people here consider themselves to be early in their career? Okay, much less. And somebody who feels being a seasoned professional? Okay, quite a few as well. So the first thing I would like to talk about is about ideas. Whenever we are using AI, we are making a choice. And this choice is oftentimes unconscionable. We are not aware that when we are prompting ChatGPT, for instance, there are things that are happening in the background. And our own knowledge can actually become a common knowledge. So imagine you are a student, you are working on a thesis, and you have a brilliant idea how to solve a problem. And then you go and ask ChatGPT, hey, is this a correct solution? And what might happen is the next version of ChatGPT will embed this knowledge, and then you will lose your competitive edge. This is one of the reasons why you should understand that data have value when you are using AI, and why you should be concerned what is happening with your ideas. And when we look into teaching AI with the data, it's also the opposite. So the models are actually being taught on data sets. And how do you confirm that all the information that was used to train the model is correct? Like, I recall a story back when I was studying. We had a server called Fitushka that was used to share knowledge. And there were at least 2 cases where a professor was arguing with a student, and students obviously were not aware that that was a professor, that they are not right. But the students were convincing him that he's wrong. And then imagine you use this as a data set to train your intelligence, and then you go to the exam. You will probably fail because you had the wrong data. So the control of the data is very important. And you know, I'm not saying you should not use cloud AI services, but I'm saying you should be intentional. If you are working with something that you consider your secret sauce, you should probably stay local. And it's beyond that. So if you are using data, you need to make sure that your model is not biased. So has it been trained on the data that are not favoring a specific group or specific answers? Can you be compliant with various regulations? So are you sure that your AI solution using your model is not leaking some confidential or PII data somewhere? So this domain is called AI security and ethics, and this is also an important thing for you to consider. What many people are not aware is that you can run your own AI models, and they are actually quite capable. And if you control the model lifecycle, you control the flow of the data, which gives you a lot of benefits because you can understand how data is flowing through the model. You can actually understand if there are any clusters of similar questions that people are asking that model. You can optimize for that. You can train it further and so on. All these things you can actually achieve with running models locally. You can use open source tools. You can use the open source models. And spoiler alert, you can ask Red Hat to give you an enterprise-grade solution how to turn that stack into something that can be supported at scale. But the point is, you should think of the data. That's the important point here. Obviously, running your own model will give you additional advantages. So you can run the model of the right size. So imagine that you have a problem, and this often happens in production. You start with an unbound domain where you don't know the problem you're actually trying to solve. So think of code assistance, for instance. So for code assistance, like, you have to have very large model because you never know what developers will ask that tool to be delivered. So for instance, I might ask a tool to turn a GitHub repository into a set of slides where each slide represents some specific file by an image. Imagine how many skills the model needs to have to fulfill this kind of a task. But in reality, what is happening, because of the costs in production usage, you are trying to understand what are the common tasks, and you are trying to basically break it down to more isolated units. And for those kind of tasks, you can run it with smaller models. And smaller models means that you can run it on cheaper hardware, you can be more energy efficient, and you can, I would almost say, like, history is repeating itself. So like 10 years back in this room, we were talking about monolith application and turning them into microservices. Now we are talking about changing big prompts into smaller prompts, but we still follow the Unix philosophy, a set of small tools that you can combine together to achieve what you want to achieve. So hopefully that was enough of an insight into why controlling the data is important and why hosting your own model can give you advantage in that. And next, I would like to give you a sneak peek on a few frameworks that you can use so that You can build either your AI learning part, or you can actually use AI to build any learning part. And this is, from my perspective, a big problem with AI these days. I'm reading multiple articles, I have various feeds and so on. Every single week, there's something that is considered to be a breakthrough. So since 2022, with the ChatGPT, we had things like reasoning models that, well, we call them reasoning, but they are not so smart, but that's a different point. But we also have the multimodal models. Now we have agents. These days, we are talking about A2A systems where agents can use currency to pay each other for a specific job. And the other development, different distribution functions, sparse context, trying to optimize the stuff, it's evolving very quickly. And the problem is, this is something like analysis paralysis. You have too many things to choose from. So the amount of content is a big problem. But what you need is some kind of a structure. And for the structure, I recommend you to use two frameworks that are, as I said, managerial, but rather simple. You don't have to fear of them. The first one is called OPT framework, where O stands for organization. So organization can be your project team, it can be your team at work, it can be your community, it can be upstream community you join. Basically, in the organization part, you are trying to identify what will deliver value for that group of people. The second thing is passion. So passion, that's what you really enjoy. That's what is super important, because this is what gives you fuel to get things done. And this can be, for instance, you are passionate about user experience, or you are passionate about efficiency and the speed of algorithms, or whatever. And the last thing is talent. And talent is something where you feel you are better at it than other people, something that can get you into a flow state. I hope it has happened to every one of you. You are working on something, and 5 hours later, you realize you missed lunch, and maybe Mensa is already closed. But the point is, you were not hungry because you were doing something that was really engulfing you in. So if you find an intersect of these three things, you will be the most efficient. And this is what you should think of. So I wanted to give you 30 seconds to think about it, but because we are late, you will get it I will invite you to have it as a homework. The second framework is called 70-20-10, or experience, exposure, education. It is basically a science study that says that the adult human brain is learning new things through hands-on experience by 70%. So exposure, trying things, is very important. If you want to build your AI knowledge, the best thing is to start experimenting. For instance, I had a quick project, I'm using Dvorak keyboard layout, which doesn't have good support for Czech diacritics, and it always drives me mad when I have to type email in Czech finger by finger. So I wrote a tool that basically takes the text that I have in a clipboard, puts it to the local model, and fix the diacritics and returns it back. Huge saver, but as part of that exercise, I've learned how to run local models, how to use their APIs, and so on. This is something what you should try to aim to do most of the time, experiment. The other thing is networking or exposure, so get in touch with somebody who can be a mentor or become a mentor yourself. Sometimes you only can be one lesson ahead. Both mentors and mentees are learning a lot when trying to formulate their thoughts and share the knowledge. And the last thing is the formal training. So that's what people really consider important. It's various lessons, courses, or books, or videos, or whatever. This is important to build the foundations, but you will learn much more if you invest into the other things. So this is the theory, like to give you a sneak peek, how I use those two frameworks myself. So the organizational needs we have in Red Hat, we obviously need to hire more people who have AI skills. Like, I guess every single company is now like thinking about this. What my passion is, like I like to be a change catalyst. I like to share knowledge. I like to inspire people. And my strengths, like I consider them to be strategical thinking and being able to connect the dots across various domains. So then I was like, okay, so if we want to increase the pool of people in the Czech Republic with AI skills, what could be the path for me to work on? Like, what can I do with that? And like through a few iterations, discussion with AI, I ended up with a path that was roughly like, within 3 months, like, start to understand your portfolio that we as Red Hat are providing. Then we kind of like also explore the other models. Like, we knew that our customers are looking for examples how they can use LLMs with Czech language. So we kind of like formed a group. We did a lot of networking. We've run a few hackathons. We locked ourselves in a room with pizza, and then we ended up with a demo or workshop content that we have successfully shared with the customers. The important part is like, there was that networking, that was that hands-on experience, like, and I've learned a lot about agents. I've learned a lot about LangGraph and various tools. And it was a lot of fun. So I invite you to try something like that yourself. But prior we will go into that, I would like to share a few things that I really consider important when we are talking AI. So the first thing is, whatever people are saying today, the AI still doesn't understand anything. It's only recognizing patterns. And there are various smart ways how to make it appear to be smarter. Like, for instance, if you have reasoning models, they look smarter, but what they are really doing is they are allowing more compute time to find out responses that have lesser probability, but have larger probability mass together. And the point is that, I don't know, like, how many people here are playing Minecraft or familiar with Minecraft? Okay, some people like it. I have to admit, I've never played it. I'm probably too old for that, but my nephew spent a lot of time watching those things on YouTube. And I guess I understand why, because he really likes that the game is very creative. And you can spend a lot of time teaching a model to become the best Minecraft player, and it will probably learn strategies that are most resource effective, but that model will never understand why playing Minecraft is fun, or how it feels like when something new is created. And this is not a bug. It's a fundamental thing within our current AI landscape. So AI requires you to tell it why to do something. And this is, I guess, good news. I was talking about that example with Fitushka. There's that garbage in, garbage out. What many companies don't admit, and maybe you have seen some studies that were saying that 95% of the AI proof of concepts are failure. The most companies don't admit that AI is about data, and they are terrible at their data management. And like running a new AI project is 80% about the data, I would say. So you need to find a way how to curate the data, how to categorize the data, how to resolve conflicts, all these things, and then you can feed the models with that data, and you can expect reasonable responses. And the other thing is that those data points are often siloed. They are, you might need to have problems with you don't want to expose all the data to everybody in the company, and these kind of things. So all AI projects quickly evolve into like, how do I run a model into much larger project? And this is important to understand. And this I consider to be the most important thing. So software as we are building it right now is deterministic, or we are trying as much as we can for it to be deterministic. But AI, by its nature, is stochastic or probabilistic, and this changes everything, like literally everything. Like, I don't know if there are still formal languages lessons in this university. Okay, so I will probably not pass with this, but I wanted to give some math to illustrate what is going on here. So what you can see here is a function that describes a product. And what is important in a product is you have X as a finite set of features this product provides. And then you have a function that turns those features into outcomes. And this is also a finite set. And PMs goes and they are looking into this set of Ys, and they are trying to map them to business value. So they are trying to map them to what customer needs. And then all the software quality thing is about trying to achieve 100% probability that if you put X into the product, you will receive Y. That's what we've been doing since ever in software. But AI changes that. So imagine that you have a chatbot. Like, you can't control what will be the input. So from a finite set, you run into infinite set or infinite set. And like, users, they expect answer for anything if they are using chatbot. They even expect answer for a question that doesn't have the right answer. Like, should I have one more beer? Like, what is the right answer, right? So yeah, it depends. Like, I guess everybody will think of it differently. But the point is, your software turns into something where people can use it, and you don't know what is generating value for them. Think of it. Let it sink for a while. You define a product, and you don't know why this product is a value. Or if people are using it, you don't know why it's so successful. So that's why if you run things locally, it gives you observability, and you can understand what prompts people are using and so on. But it's getting even worse. AI is probabilistic. So what can happen is AI doesn't guarantee you that for the same input, you will always get the same output. So think of it. Like, imagine that I implement AI in a food delivery application, right? And like, when I order Bumbo Nambo, I expect to get Bumbo Nambo delivered at my door, but with AI, it can easily happen that French fries with a schnitzel will get delivered at my neighbor's place for my budget. Customers don't like that. Like, customers are really used to that deterministic behavior in the software. So how we, as the developers, will handle that? Like, this is probably the biggest thing. And if you would look into the history, like I would say Western people, probably in 13th century with Thomas Aquinas, he kind of put the Aristotle's logic into a logical frame. And since then, this has evolved into medieval scholastic theory and then early science. And since then, what we are doing is we are thinking in a terms where basically there's no middle. As something is either true or false, but can't be anything in between them. And we use that logical reasoning. And AI is changing that. And we will need to change our mindset models. And we will need to convince our customers to change theirs or figure out a way how they can still use the software that uses AI. That's very difficult. Like, changing people is very difficult. And it doesn't end there. Like, because of how the AI models work, like, it even breaks the usual way how we are delivering software so far. So for a really long time, we have been delivering software in a way that we start with something that is called MVP, or minimal viable product, and then we get a feedback, and then we implement a new minor version with a new feature in. But the problem is, like, if something changes on the AI space of that solution, you are quite likely needed to drop everything you have done and start from scratch. And this has happened to us in the past, like for the demo that I was mentioning. We changed the model because there was a new model, and guess what happened? Like, all the prompts were not working anymore because the model was trained for different kind of input. And then there were other things, so we had to redesign the architecture from scratch. And that's what you see these days, like when people have agents and are using them to use things like spec kit and various other stuff to develop the application, the next iteration of the application using AI. So, I guess this sounds scary. So let me give you some thoughts on how this transforms or evolves the role of software engineers. Whenever we are talking of software development lifecycle, I like to frame it with something that is called triangle of quality. The spoiler alert, I've been in quality engineering, so I like quality a lot. But the point here is that you have time, feature, and resources. And then you have quality as a function of those things. And since ever, it was like, do you want to deliver more features? You either need more time, or you need more resources or more people to keep the same quality. AI is changing that, because now with AI, the time and features are no longer constrained, because you can use AI agents to deliver more code, more features. But in order to keep the quality, you need to invest human potential into the process so that you can trust what AI has delivered. So this kind of like means that instead of delivering features, developers are now expected to make sure that what AI is delivering is the right thing. And again, like, this might sound scary, but this is not the first time the role of developers has changed over history. So when compilers were introduced, developers, instead of focusing and being bound on a specific hardware, started to thinking more about higher level algorithms that can be shared across various machines. And they started, talking about abstractions and these kind of things. Then in 1980s and 60s, when we had enough of these things, we started creating libraries, frameworks, like open source ones that can be reused and shared. And with IDEs, like, developers, instead of writing code, they started integrating existing libraries and components together. Then when Agile happened, like, instead of having specific roles in the software development process, like, developers started looking into multiple aspects, like trying to understand customer requirements, doing some CI/CD automation, DevOps, and you name it. So there's always a transformation that is happening. Like, the good news is that so far, all of those transformations meant that more developers are needed. We'll see if that will hold. I wanted to share this framework with you as well, because I like it. It's 6 years old, so it comes from IDC. And it's talking about the role of AI in the process of software development. And it basically starts in a way that you have people working on a software, and then you start to automate some parts of that process, and you give it to machines. Then machines started leading this. So the machines are giving you basically suggestions, like insights, like implement this or implement that, but you are still making the decision. And then we have the fourth phase where machines, you start to trust the machine that they will do the right things, and that's what we are seeing right now with agents. But you still need to assure they are really doing the right thing. And I believe we are now in the transition in between level 3 and level 4. And, it's called human assurance, so again, like points to the quality, like assuring that AI does the right thing. So, how is role shifting? So, for many years, developers were incentivized to deliver features fast. This is how you were paid. Like, if you were able to code feature faster, you were a better developer and you got promoted. Now, what is happening is that you need to make sure that what AI is delivering does the right thing. This is a different job. You no longer create features. You simply, maybe you define the high-level architecture, you use something like program by intention framework where you define the high-level functions, and then you let AI to fill the details. This is interesting thing, but what it means for the skills perspective or competencies. So I consider those the most important. I would say prompting is and has always been the most important skill in software development. We were just not realizing it. What do you think about, when I think about prompting, prompting is about to be able to externalize your brain. So whoever you pass that context to has enough of the context and they understand what is the task or what is the ask or these kind of things. So if you are a manager, you need to have prompting skills because you need to ask associates in your team to work on something. Well, I would even argue that if you want to go on a date, you need to have prompting skills because you need to ask the right way. Feedback is another skill that has always been there and is becoming more important right now. So you need to be able to build a feedback loop, and in this specific context, a feedback loop with AI, so that you understand what is going on in that process of AI model being used in your solution, and you can fine-tune it. And then there are guarding, validation, assurance, and resilience, which are all skills related to quality of what is coming out of AI. So guarding is understand how you can narrow what AI can do in a way that it doesn't break the value that the customers can get out of it. So for instance, you might want to introduce a guardian model to your solution that rejects questions about your internal prompts, for instance. So they are not exposed. Somebody can ask me, like, hey, what is your internal prompt? And this can be part of the intellectual property. Or you want to reject offensive questions. Or you actually want to have the prompt guarding at the output. So you want to make sure that if you have financial data somewhere in your model, which you probably should not have, but if you have them there, depending on who is asking, you should be able to program the solution in a way that it only answers to appropriate people. Validation, it's kind of like, does the model do the right thing? And assurance, it's kind of like all similar flavors of the quality. So it's thinking what can break, like what are the edge cases, and so on. I think that this is good because those are skills that, at least for me, are more engaging than debugging or writing code. And I've been in the industry for quite some time, so AI can make me more effective. But I believe this is actually good news for you as well. Because, yes, I've seen articles every single day. People are saying, like, we don't need juniors anymore. Like, putting aside that somebody will need to replace the seniors at some point when they retire, like, I see a logical problem here. But putting aside that, you as a junior, you can use AI to learn faster. Like what you can easily do, for instance, you can translate a domain you don't understand into a domain that you understand through AI. And I've seen it like recently when we onboarded a junior guy in our team. He went from quality engineering background into productization team, or like he was more focused on productization skills, and we throw a completely new CI/CD solution to him, and he was able to contribute to that within the very first week. I assure you that like when I joined Red Hat, like we were reading articles, I was even reading books because my laptop hasn't arrived on the day one, but that's a different story. So AI can make you more effective. It can actually open you to more opportunities as well. So think of, you have a gap in a specific skill, so you can use AI to become more balanced person in your skills. And, I still believe that when I was talking about the history of what has happened to developers in the past, we always needed more developers because it was not about the speed. It was about number of ideas that we want to implement. And this is, I believe, important for you in this room. Like, I gave you some framework, but you need to come with ideas. What is the next unicorn you want to develop? And AI is not going to tell you that, but AI can help you to deliver that with much smaller teams. Or maybe, create a garage software company and become next Apple or Microsoft. So, this thing. So the next thing is about some attempts to, I would say, inspire you to start right now. And I was talking of the importance of networking, and I feel that it is important to share what we learn about AI. And when I was talking about deterministic versus probabilistic, I was mentioning that we are used to think of specific models, and one of the problems we have right now is we are afraid to share until we feel we know enough. And this is like, maybe we are afraid or something like that, but the point is like you are losing a lot of value if you are not sharing your knowledge, because just like trying to formulate your ideas can really help you to understand that. And I really invite you to share with your family members what AI is about. Like try to explain them what AI is about for the non-technical people. And I talk to folks with the swag down there. So first 3 people who will connect with me on the LinkedIn mentioning that they have completed this exercise will receive some swag back from Red Hat. So hopefully that's enough as a motivation. But, I think it's not just that. I also invite you to start thinking of yourself being an expert in AI because of your background and where you are studying, but doing cross-pollination, connect with folks from other domains because they are behind. But together you can combine your domain expertise with their domain expertise and deliver something great. And this is my biggest fear. Like we are talking about AI a lot, but where is AI really happening? Like it's happening in the US and China. Yeah, okay. And if we stay behind, we will have a problem. Like the jobs really won't be here. The other thing that I consider important, we also things like Matrix movie and these kind of things. And people are oftentimes thinking of or teaching AI as how to use it to become more effective or to automate something. Or maybe they are talking about how to develop new models. But there are other important aspects. It's about the bias, the fairness, the observability, turning AI not into a black box so you understand what is happening there. If people don't have that skills, they are more likely to deliver an AI in the future that will behave like Matrix. So I invite you to demand that, at the universities, at the communities, like bring those questions, like ask, should we really use AI for that? Like you probably don't want to use AI to rank performance of people and send them termination letters. Like, I don't think this is a good idea, but if people don't know, maybe they will try to do that. So to make it more concrete, like an idea, like first week, start experimenting with some local model. You can use Olama or Ramalama or whatever tool you want. In the next month or in the first month, think of your OPT, try to play with AI to deliver something like that. And in a quarter, it would be great if you have some small projects and you are willing to share that to your colleagues or whoever you want to. So let me summarize that. So we have quickly run through 4 categories. I tried to give you some insights why controlling the data in AI matters, how you can build your own AI learning path, what I consider to be the most critical things currently in AI space, how this changes the role, and some inspiration how we can change the future. So will AI take my job? You need to answer that right now, but the important thing, the why is not changing. You are still here to deliver the why. And you have to choose. Will you ignore AI? Will you fear AI? Or will you engage with AI? Thank you.